The wrestling world is still buzzing after Bray Wyatt made his WWE return this past weekend at Extreme Rules, but now we've got more details about Wyatt's return to WWE. Plus, his brother Bo Dallas is set to return to the company too very soon. What does this mean for Bray Wyatt's creative plans going forward? We're going to talk about that. Plus, some NXT stars have teased their involvement in Wyatt's new gimmick on WWE television. Some major WWE stars have blacked out their social media profiles, implying they could also be involved. We're going to talk about all of it. Plus, Elektra Lopez wasn't part of the Legado del Fantasma debut this past week on SmackDown. What's her situation with WWE right now? We're going to talk about that. Plus, Holland undergoes a knee procedure. Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. Hope everyone's doing very well. As always, there are plenty of news stories to get into in the world of WWE right now, and the biggest news story continues to be the return of Bray Wyatt. After weeks of teasers about the White Rabbit, after weeks of QR codes, after weeks of hints, teasers, cryptic messages, cryptic videos, HTML codes, URL codes, Bray Wyatt is indeed back in WWE. Of course, it's Monday, which means tonight is Monday Night Raw on USA Network. It's yet to be confirmed that Bray Wyatt will be in attendance or be appearing at the event, but logically you would think Bray Wyatt's going to be there. Now, it must be said, after the buzz and surprise wears off of Bray Wyatt's return, which probably like yourself, I have watched about 10 million times at this point, you then start to wonder, okay, what's the gimmick? What's the character? What's the creative going forward for Bray Wyatt now that he's back with the company? We don't know. We don't know a ton of details. We do know, though, that his family member is returning to the company, and we do have some details about how the return came together and the reaction backstage at Extreme Rules this past Saturday. So, Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful Select gives a backstage update on Bray Wyatt's WWE return, and if there was any doubt, Bray Wyatt's return worked out very well for WWE. WWE sources that Fightful spoke with said that Wyatt's return was very well received and that they were very happy with the buzz it has created in the weeks leading up to Extreme Rules with the QR codes and the cryptic videos. Now, several WWE sources had been playing up Extreme Rules as a, quote, big night to the media ahead of the weekend. Now, to trace this back to when did the discussions start happening between Wyatt and WWE, we don't really know, but what we do know is as early as 1 week after Vince McMahon's retirement and departure from the company, members of the new WWE regime told Fightful that they felt optimistic about Wyatt's return. And it must be said, if you go back to Vince McMahon retired around July time, if you go back to July, we started to hear those reports about Wyatt around that period of time. Once we started to see these people return to WWE, your Dakota Kais, your especially Braun Strowman, but Dexter Lumis, etc., people started to make the logical step of, well, who's out there? Because that's the difficult thing. There are some people that Triple H was big fans of and has used them well in the past, but they weren't available. They were under contract to other companies. Who was the biggest name out there that wasn't under contract that could be brought back? And the biggest name out there, irrespective of whether they were under contract or not, was Bray Wyatt in terms of his history with WWE, being a former WWE champion, being a former Universal champion. He was the name, the biggest name that Triple H could bring back right now, certainly. Now, as I mentioned, as early as 1 week after Vince McMahon's retirement, members of this new regime told Fightful they felt optimistic about Wyatt's return. A full month before Wyatt returned to WWE, one WWE source was completely convinced that Wyatt was back with WWE and was indeed heading back to the company, which we now, of course, know to be accurate. Now, several that are usually in the know were kept out of the loop about the context of the White Rabbit videos until this past week. Some of the references had to be approved, but standard WWE creative was largely hands off. Now, it's worth noting, and we kind of touched on this when the story broke last week, that the returning Bray Wyatt has a very good relationship with WWE's new director of long-term creative, Rob Fee. Fee had even pitched a Fiend movie directly to Nick Khan last year prior to Wyatt being released from the company. So, the finer details there, we don't really know. We kind of know broad strokes. We don't know when WWE really got in touch. We don't know when WWE made the offer. We don't know when Bray Wyatt signed on the dotted line. These White Rabbit teasers had been going on for about, 3 or 4 weeks at this point? About 3 weeks or so, I guess. So it would, logically, you would state, well, a deal would have had to have been signed before they started to pursue this and go into that direction. When it comes to certain people being left out of the loop. If anything, that's what made it so great. We knew it was Bray Wyatt. We knew Bray Wyatt was coming back. And even from the beginning, people said, well, the red light, that's the Fiend, that's Bray Wyatt. But whilst we had all of these hints, and this is the great thing, this is why it was so good. First of all, the attention to detail was so strong by WWE here. In all of these clues is moving to clues and hints about a pink rabbit in Italy, the town of Windham, Maine, the White Rabbit records on YouTube, etc. All of it was just, the attention to detail was absolutely sensational. It was absolutely fantastic. But one of the biggest things with Bray Wyatt, and whilst he never did the big public interview, which is a shame because we'll never probably hear it now, but one of the biggest issues reportedly with Wyatt and WWE, specifically Vince McMahon, is he was so frustrated with the bad creative he had been given. He had gotten over in spite of terrible creative, and he had to reinvent himself several times over despite bad creative to get over the previous bad creative that he was given. The original Bray Wyatt character is one of the most creative and unique and original characters in WWE history. Yeah, it's a ripoff of Waylon Mercy, but it still was a bit more than that, and it was creative and it was different, and the creative was so bad in WWE that they beat that down into a character that became a mid-carder, wasn't anything special, and almost became comedic towards the end there with the stuff with Matt Hardy. So he then goes away, reinvents himself again, Firefly Funhouse, the Mr. Rogers Bray Wyatt, the Fiend, fantastic. And again, what do we get? Bad creative. And by all accounts, he would always say to Vince McMahon, the creative here is awful. The creative is bad. I'm giving you gold and you're fumbling it. Now, Vince McMahon's reaction to that isn't, okay, let's figure out, let's work together, let's make this better. It's, how dare you question my great intelligence? How dare you question my great creativity? And that's why, again, it started to become logical once you heard reports of some people in creative are hands-off. Typical traditional WWE creative is hands-off. Only a select few people know. Now it makes sense because if I was Bray Wyatt, I would say, okay, I'm happy to come back, but I want to have, not creative control, but this needs to work. We need to have the creative that is actually going to work here. And especially now he's got someone there in Rob Fee that he trusts. It makes a lot of sense. It really does. And if Bray Wyatt was largely instrumental in the QR codes and the teasers and the vignettes, it's already showing that that's what he can bring to the table. And again, by all accounts, Rob Fee was very instrumental in the QR codes as well. It's working. It has buzz. Listen to that reaction. The reaction was there at Extreme Rules because they're happy to see Bray Wyatt back, and they're fans of Bray Wyatt, they're fans of The Fiend, they're fans of his creativity. But also, the reaction was there because the build-up, the anticipation, the hype was there because of the great job that the WWE had done with the White Rabbit viral marketing campaign. Now, Bray Wyatt's brother could also be joining him back in WWE once again, implying he could be involved in whatever Wyatt has planned for this new iteration of Bray Wyatt, because he won't be the only Rotunda family member returning to WWE. In a new report from Brian Alvarez of F4W Online, Wyatt's younger brother, Bo Dallas, is expected to return to WWE, quote, very soon. Now, Dallas was released by WWE on April 15, 2021, after being with the promotion since 2008. During his career, he was the tag team partner of Curtis Axel. They were known as the B Team. They held the Raw Tag Team Championships. Probably his biggest success came in NXT. He's a former NXT champion, former 24/7 champion, whatever that means. Prior to his release, his last WWE match was at the 2019 Crown Jewel event on October 31st. The match was a World Cup Tag Team Turmoil match, and Dallas teamed with Axel in that match. Now, he's currently in a relationship with former SmackDown Women's Champion Liv Morgan. Dallas and Morgan currently run a farm together, and Dallas was also working in the real estate business too. A lot of people have led to the assumption that Dallas is going to be something to do with this new Wyatt family, this new Wyatt gimmick. It's weird actually, because, and again, this is what made also the return so great at the weekend, is that after the buzz wears off of Wyatt's return, you then start to go, well, what character was that? Because it wasn't the Fiend. It definitely wasn't the Firefly Funhouse version of Bray Wyatt that you can see on the screen right there. It felt like it was closer to the older version of Bray Wyatt with the lantern and all that kind of stuff and saying, I'm here. It felt more in keeping with that. But also some people are saying, well, actually, could it be the Wyatt 6, because on social media that's his name, it's Wyatt 6, and people are saying is the Wyatt 6 all of these iterations of his previous personas coming to life and the characters from the FireFly Funhouse coming to life? And are they going to be played by certain people? Could Bo Dallas be one of those people that appeared in the crowd? Could Bo Dallas be Huskus the Pig? Could Bo Dallas be Mercy the Buzzard? Could Bo Dallas be The Fiend? Was Bo Dallas playing The Fiend at ringside, right? There's several different ways they could do this, and the more you think about it, there is still so many questions. The return was great, but is he a babyface? Is he a heel? He's not the character. He's not The Fiend, because The Fiend was at ringside and Bray Wyatt came out. Is he going to be The Fiend ever again? Like, there are so many different characters involving that, and there was so many rumors or discussions for years about saying, are we ever going to see a Bray Wyatt versus Bo Dallas feud? Are they ever going to acknowledge that they're brothers? Because I don't think they've ever acknowledged on television that they are brothers. Are they ever going to have Bo Dallas become part of the Wyatt family? Is he going to become part of the FireFly Funhouse? Are they going to do anything? They never, ever, ever acknowledged it. And it will be really interesting to see if they finally do that. And if they do, how are they going to do it as well? That's certainly really, really interesting. So could see Bo Dallas arrive as early as this evening on Raw. And it must be said, Bray Wyatt is already doing big business for WWE. The White Rabbit has been doing hot business for WWE. WWE uploaded Bray Wyatt's return to WWE in 2 parts on their official YouTube channel. And the section that includes Bray Wyatt actually appearing in the Wells Fargo Center is on something like 1.2 million viewers, or it had 1.2 million viewers in 12 hours. With the first half of Bray's return accumulating around 760,000 views, again in that same time frame. WWE's pinned video of Wyatt's return at Extreme Rules to their official Instagram page. It's already got something like nearly 500,000 likes and counting just 13 hours after being posted. On the Facebook page, it's nearly been seen by 300,000 people. Almost all of the company's most popular social media posts have been related to Bray, except on TikTok, where actually the most viewed video post is Ronda Rousey taunting Liv Morgan. It might have something to do with Bray Wyatt's TikTok being marked as sensitive content by admins, apparently. That's probably why. But again, it goes to show, I think even the video on Twitter has something like over 2 million views. It's crazy. He's already doing major business, and people are talking a lot about Bray Wyatt's return still. They talked about the anticipation of his return. They're talking about his return. Now's the time for WWE to ensure that they're talking about the fallout of his return tonight on Monday Night Raw as well. But going back to this Wyatt 6 stuff, some people have been questioning, are NXT stars going to be part of this next version of Bray Wyatt as well? Because, of course, when he made his incredible return at the climax of the show, complete with his lantern, a tattered funhouse, and various human versions of the puppets from the FireFly Funhouse and the Fiend, many believe that to be this Wyatt 6 that he's been teasing on Twitter. While it's likely that the people in the Funhouse suits were just placeholders, NXT superstars Joe Gacy and Grayson Waller have taken to Twitter to seemingly imply they were 2 of the people in the suits, which has led to many thinking they could end up being part of this possible faction when it comes to WWE's new version of Bray Wyatt going forward. Now, to further speculation on this, Grayson Waller, I think, is trolling people, but Grayson Waller took to Twitter yesterday to address what Apollo Crews did to him during last week's episode of NXT. Now, if you didn't see it, Apollo Crews pulled Grayson Waller under the ring after the Grayson Waller effect with Roxanne Perez and Cora Jade ended, leaving Waller with bloody eyes. Now, Waller then recorded a Twitter video addressing Crews and how his bloody eyes led to him dating a 6 out of 10. But it was the background shot that everyone noticed. At the 28-second mark of the video, Waller leaned towards, or he actually leaned forward with the camera, revealing something familiar in the background. We've actually got the image of it. See if you can recognize what certainly people are talking about when it comes to Grayson Waller leaning forward to the camera. Let's have a look at see if you can notice anything. Do you notice anything there? Do you notice anything in the background? Certainly something there that people are talking about. It's the lantern of Bray Wyatt's sort of severed head, certainly the one that the Fiend used to carry to the ring. And it certainly, again, got people talking that maybe Grayson Waller is involved in all of that. Honestly, I don't think Grayson Waller is involved. I thought possibly he could have been the guy under the mask for Mercy the Buzzard. A lot of people are saying, well, Grayson Waller wears those sort of loud, outrageous shirts, and that's what Mercy the Buzzard was wearing. But I think Mercy the Buzzard was wearing that because that's what the original version of Bray Wyatt wore. Again, as I mentioned, it was a Waylon Mercy. It was a Waylon Mercy ripoff. That's what the character was, and even that comes from Robert De Niro and Cape Fear. So I don't think that was a Grayson Waller connection. I think that was a way. I think that was just the gimmick. That was an old Bray Wyatt reference. All of it is Bray Wyatt references. I don't expect Grayson Waller to be involved in this Wyatt 6 thing because he's involved with something on NXT. If he wasn't involved in stuff in NXT, then I would say that's possible. But look how they're doing things now. Legado del Fantasma just debuted on the main roster. They haven't done anything on NXT television in weeks. The way it's working now, and the way that Triple H was so frustrated with this in the past, he said about WWE and Vince McMahon calling him up, this person's going to get called up, this person needs to get called up, when they hadn't written him off of television. Legado del Fantasma was written off of television, they got called up. Grayson Waller is still on NXT television, so I don't expect him to get called up anytime soon. Same with Joe Gacy. I don't expect him to be involved. And to be honest, I don't expect to see a faction. Maybe Bo Dallas, but I don't think we're going to get what we had before. I don't think the version of Bray Wyatt on the screen right there and the Fiend, and he's just going to go back to doing what he did before. We've already seen he's not doing that. I don't think he's going to go back to what he was doing prior to that, though. I think we're seeing something different. I don't know what it is. I can't get in the mind of Bray Wyatt. So it'll be interesting. Now, it's not just NXT stars that are being linked to this new faction. Seth Rollins and Liv Morgan have both blacked out their Twitter and Instagram profiles following their losses at Extreme Rules. Again, it's led to some speculation they could be involved with this whole Bray Wyatt thing. We've got the pictures here. So as you can see, Seth Rollins' Twitter and Instagram is blacked out. Same with Liv Morgan, which is certainly curious that both decided to do that. If one person did it, you could just say, wow, it's just a case of them both reacting, or one reacting badly to a victory. The Liv Morgan one certainly makes sense because the way that she did that it wasn't a promo, it was just a segment after Extreme Rules. It was a digital exclusive online. Certainly teased as a change in character. The new character is that she's going to be crazy, unhinged, I think. Obviously, she laughed and when she passed out to the Ronda Rousey move, and it looks like she's going to be turning heel and kind of going into this sort of more psychotic heel. Okay, that makes sense. The Rollins one could just be, again, just devastated with the loss. I don't know. I don't think it has anything to do with Bray Wyatt. I know that pretty much everything now is being linked to him and saying, oh, is he going to be part of a faction? The Liv Morgan Sister Abigail things need to never come up again because that was fan fiction. It was never part of the plans. Seth Rollins does have history, of course, with Bray Wyatt, with The Fiend, and I'm sure at some point they will revisit that. But as far as Rollins being involved in a Wyatt faction, that would be very, very surprising. I don't see that at all. Let's talk about some other news as well. We did kind of touch on Legado del Fantasma, didn't we? And obviously Elektra Lopez was absent this past week on SmackDown for their debut, and a backstage update has emerged on Elektra Lopez following the main roster debut of Legado del Fantasma on SmackDown this past week. Now, during this Friday's episode, Santos Escobar, Joaquin Wilde, and Cruz del Toro officially joined the main roster alongside the returning Zelina Vega. Elektra Lopez notably didn't appear in the segment, indicating she will not be joining Legado del Fantasma on the main roster. Now, as per Dave Meltzer on Wrestling Observer Radio, those within WWE initially expected that Lopez would be called up with Legado del Fantasma before WWE changed their mind. Meltzer noted, quote, she thought she was, everybody was under the impression she was going to be called up, then they changed their mind and she wasn't. Again, we don't know what this now means for her going forward. Logically, you would state that means she goes back to NXT and she'll have to figure it out. Again, I know a lot of people were upset about this and outraged. Look, it was a case certainly of WWE trying to fix something that wasn't necessarily broken. However, I do think Zelina Vega will probably work better with that group. She has more experience, certainly in that role as well. I think in the long term, while people hate change and they don't like it, I do think this is a positive change. I really do. And it is unfair from Elektra Lopez's point of view because she's done good work in NXT with the faction. But I do think this is an upgrade. That's just my opinion. But you can let me know your thoughts about that in the comment section below. Finally, Ridge Holland has had a bit of a procedure on his knee. Reflecting on his previous knee surgery, SmackDown star Ridge Holland has confirmed he since had a follow-up procedure. Of course, from October 2020 to July 2021, Holland was unable to compete in WWE after an injury he sustained during a match on NXT television. It was an absolutely horrific injury. Horrible, horrible. Now, after he had recovered, Holland then made a brief return to NXT, but was called up to the main roster in November. Now, it wasn't all smooth sailing upon his return, as Holland would explained to David Shoemaker of the Ringer Wrestling Show, he said, quote, came up to the main roster to SmackDown, broke my nose, there was an unfortunate incident with Big E, and then I had to have my knee cleaned out. So it just felt like stop, start, stop, start. Clearing out the knee is a post-surgery that is procedure that cleans up the knee joint and trim any cartilage that may contribute to knee pain. Speaking further on his return to the active roster, Holland praised Butch and Sheamus, saying, quote, stay focused, turn up to work, and obviously with these two, Sheamus and Butch at my side with advice, because I'm the least experienced here, I'm probably one of the least experienced on the roster, so to have these two gents coaching me up, it's fantastic. All I say is keep going, turn up to work, and don't lose focus. Now, Rich Holland, I think, has got a ton of potential, a ton of upside. Like he mentions, wasn't going great for him on the main roster. The broken nose, and again the Big E incident, which is just unfortunate, really, really unfortunate, and it's a shame. It's one of those things, unfortunately, and it was a massive shame. But I do think, to credit to Triple H and Sheamus and Pete Dunne, Butch, the Brawling Brutes have been fantastic. They've just been having great matches. Their feud of Imperium's fantastic, and I'm not ready for that one to end anytime soon, it must be said. So there you go, guys. That's the latest WWE news for you. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe bottom right-hand corner. Let me know your thoughts on today's WWE news stories in the comment section below, and I'll speak for you again very, very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.